Back to the NFL. The Rams fell just shy of pulling off a huge comeback against the Falcons on Monday Night Football. Down 21 at the half, the Rams offense was able to bounce back from 3 Matthew Stafford interceptions to tie the game at 24. But a responding Falcons field goal left too little of time on the clock as LA dropped the game 27-24. So the Rams cannot win the NFC West, but they can still go as high as the 5 seed in the NFC with a win and a Seahawks win in Week 18. 6 of the 7 playoff spots in the NFC are clinched. The other will be either the Panthers or the Bucks in the NFC South. Either the Niners or Seahawks will get the top seed, with either the Bears or the Eagles being seeded second. So we just talked about this last block, how there's just like a little bit of chaos. There's not really a juggernaut right now in the entire NFL, but let alone in the NFC. Anyone can get got, it basically feels like. Every team has got a little bit of flaw. So which NFC contender has the best chance of overcoming their specific flaw this postseason? What do you think?
For one, I think it's a lot of fun that we don't know who it's going to be.
Right?
I'm picking one. I'm going with Seattle. And I would say their flaw is their offense. They haven't been able to run the ball, and then there's some doubts about Sam Darnold and the belief that he's going to be able, not only in the playoffs, but in the game this weekend, to be able to propel this team in a huge moment. The reason I'm going with them is, as much as there's reason to doubt Sam Darnold, I look at the last few weeks for him and what he's been able to do in the second half, and then specifically in the fourth quarter of games for this team to propel them to victory. You go back to the Falcons game in the second half, after an abysmal first half, he goes on and wins them the football game. You go to that Rams game, after the punt return from Rashid Shaheed, he now starts to make throws to win that football game. The Panthers game this past weekend, in the fourth quarter, coming up with throw after throw to win that game. The Seahawks defense, to me, is the best one in the NFC. And when you have a defense that's going to keep you in the game, you need a quarterback that late in the game in the fourth quarter is going to be able to make plays. It may not be pretty through all 3 of them, but the fact that you're still going to be in the football game, with the Rams game being a great example of that against one of the best teams in the NFC, you're still in it. You find a way to get there. And now, can your quarterback in that moment, in the 2-minute drill, can you make a throw to win the game? And I know Sam Darnold at one point was seeing ghosts and all the other stuff, and it's hard for us to move on past that. But he's given us a little bit of reason to believe him late.
Yeah, he could do it. He could move us past that. Like with a couple big games here.
The big games.
Starting on Saturday night, right? Because this is the same position he found himself in the end of last year. Right? In Detroit, and had a terrible game. So, yeah, if you talk to the Seahawks, I would say they would tell you the talent is not an issue with their run game. It's just a matter of finding the right scheme and putting it together. So, yeah, high-end potential there. My answer was the Bears. I think the Bears' weakness is their defense. But they've managed to overcome it for most of this year by taking the ball away. Now, people will tell you, obviously, that taking the ball, that takeaways, that evens out over time. But we're not talking about time. We're talking about like a 3-game stretch here. And if they could take the ball away at a high rate 2-3 times a game, then I think that makes a huge difference for them and their defense. The offense, we've seen the magic with Caleb Williams in the fourth quarter. We've seen the run game be dominant. I think the Bears are a team that if they can find those takeaways, they're going to be really, really dangerous.
I just had to check the room, I had to check my pulse, J-Mac, we were here on New Year's Day a year ago.
I remember.
And we had the exact same conversation about Sam Darnold 1 year ago. And you right here is telling me the exact same thing again with this team. The thing with Sam Darnold is that the defense is not just, he's not just managing the game. The defense is saving them from the fact that he's blowing some of these games. Like, we watched that Carolina game. There are about 2 or 3 more interceptions that he could have thrown in that game. Sam Darnold, I think, is becoming too much of a bugaboo for this team to overcome. I don't think they can do that. For me, it's 2 teams. Actually, I think that can overcome. The team we've been talking about all day is the Rams. To me, their biggest issue is the fact that they're kind of blowing these games down the stretch. And some of these things feel a little bit fluky. Like you said, the difference between fluky and a trend. Some of these things, I think when you have a guy like Matthew Stafford and you have a coach like they have, they can execute better down the stretch than what we've seen in the regular season. So I think they will be able to overcome that, in spite of the fact that one of the biggest obstacles they have to do all this on the road. Right. The other team I think that can overcome their obstacles is the Eagles. And their obstacle, the biggest one, is that offensively they just disappear. They fall apart. As you mentioned, you have multiple halves in a season in which Jalen Hurts has not completed a pass, right? Yes. And so I just have to believe that defense is a Super Bowl winning defense, right? And I just believe that you have the guys there with the talent, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, that they can revert back to a Super Bowl winning unit that we have seen in the past. We've seen them do it. And I think that they can pull it together come playoff time and overcome their offensive deficiencies. I mean, you only need like 3 receptions in the second half for them to be able to do a little better than
just more than 0.
Right.
Exactly.
The difference between the 2 teams that you just talked about and my team is that Seattle, if they win this game on Saturday, they get the first round bye. Yeah. So now they only have to win 2 games at home, and then they look up and they're playing in the Super Bowl. So that factors in as well. And then when you talk about the elite defense and you talk about the Eagles, Seattle, I feel the exact same way. So the defense for the Eagles is keeping them in it, and so is Seattle. And I feel like when you only have to win those 2 games and you're playing at home, and that crowd, how loud it gets, and the defense is the backbone of your team, and now a quarterback has to come in there on 3rd down when it's as loud as it is there and beat this team, I just don't see it happening. So, yes, there's a Sam Darnold of it all, but when you have one of the best receivers on your team in Jackson Smith and Jigba, and now the addition of what Rashid Shaheed has made, as long as he's able to get past the concussion protocol, which he received this past weekend, like, they have weapons around, and you talked about the talented run game. Kenneth Walker makes 3 guys miss every time it gets to football. They have all the talent in the room. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah,
I'm saying, Sam, you can do it.
I just close my eyes and envision a world in which Sam Darnold has to complete passes against that Eagles defense.
Yeah.
And I feel like you would be
across
panicked.
the country.
You would be panicked if you're in Seattle thinking that that's something that you have to do to win a game.
Until you do it, they're not going to believe you do it. So here it is, Sam. Right, here's another chance to what we say last week: beat the allegations.
Beat the allegations.
Yeah,
Sam.
exactly.
Beat the allegations.
By the way, I heard no disagreement with my Bears point, so obviously
I would agree. I would disagree a little, and I don't.
Shay's intimidated.
I don't want. No. I don't want to. I want to believe in the Bears so much. What scared me though about their defense is the fact that like their blitz meant nothing to Brock Purdy. Like to your point, yes, they turned the ball over the first play of the game. But then it went away after that. So against elite quarterback play, right? Yes. Against elite quarterback play. Now we have seen the likes of like Sam Darnold, and last night Matthew Stafford turned the ball over at a higher clip than maybe we're accustomed to seeing high-profile quarterbacks do. So there's that. But I was like, hello, can we put a little pressure on the quarterback, please? Where it's still a little bit of fear. Let's go back to the Eagles, though, because I do have a question. I have been seeing some people float this, that maybe the Eagles have been reserving some of their offensive firepower for later in the season, which is now, or maybe the postseason.
That's an approach.
Would that be a possibility, or is that insane? I
have a high level of confidence.
I don't know. Would that maybe be something that has crossed anyone's mind here? I have seen this.
Absolutely not. Like, I don't think that if that were the case, I don't think you'd be having these issues where A.J. Brown has been so upset about what's been going on.
But he hasn't been the last few weeks.
He's been
quiet the last few weeks.
I just don't think that you would have sort of the issues that you have. I mean, what would be a better strategy than doing that is like winning a bunch of games and having the #1 seed in the NFC. I think that would probably be something I'd rather
Well, they are winning. They have won, just not pretty.
I find it hard to believe there's like a stack of plays in Sirianni's drawer that he's just holding until the postseason. Look, it's a fairly basic offense, and it was last year too. The difference last year is the offensive line was just destroying people, and Saquon would get through that hole and then make the guy miss at the second level, and then he just kept running. They're not doing that this year. The offensive line hasn't played to that level. Saquon hasn't played to that level, and they just don't have a lot of ways to go in that offense to create advantages when it's not just, hey, our guys up front are better than your guys up front, which is how they won last year. And yeah, they threw the ball in the Super Bowl. They could play a game like that, but everything worked off of that dominant run game that was generating explosive plays in the run game. Now you have to find your explosive plays in the pass game, and it's just not as reliable.
The only thing I'll say to that, and when you talk about saving plays, the only aspect that they really haven't unleashed is Jalen Hurts potentially running more designed quarterback run that you may look at and say, hey, I want to make sure my quarterback is healthy to get to the playoffs. And now once it's win or go home, you may say, you know what, we will put in an occasional quarterback read and tell Jalen Hurts, hey, let's keep the ball and let's try to get around the corner. They've mixed some of that in, but they haven't done a ton of it. Maybe you decide when the playoffs come, hey, we want to make sure Hurts walks out of this game with at least 10 carries in the run game. That could be an aspect that we've seen wrinkles in, a little bit of sprinkles here and there, that maybe they rely on more, knowing that there is no tomorrow if we don't win this football game.
We also saw him fumble twice on the same play. So it may be that, that they want to scale things down and avoid turnovers at all costs. And when they have historically asked more of Jalen Hurts, he has been a little bit prone to the turnovers. And I think that is something that significantly worries the coaching staff when you talk about expanding his role. I saw a stat. They have some great record this year when he's thrown for under 200 yards. So it's almost like Jalen Hurts has to find a way to sort of agree to diminish himself in order to get the most out of this offense, which is interesting, but it has worked.
To that point then, okay, the reality is Jalen Hurts has led this Eagles team to 2 Super Bowl appearances, right? And he has won 1.
It's a lot to like.
Right? Yeah. Should teams fear Jalen Hurts?
I'm not sure if they should fear him. Fear is kind of like a step too far and from what we've seen from him, but there should not be this belief that you're just going to continue to see the Eagles' offensive struggles that we've seen, that there is a potential for Jalen Hurts to have one of these Superman performances, especially when who the playoff competition is. When you look at some of the Bears defense, look at that 49ers defense. Yes, the offensive line has struggled with the Eagles, but you got to believe when you watch what you saw on Sunday night that you can put some points on the board if you're the Eagles. And if you are Jalen Hurts, if you're A.J. Brown, you're Saquon Barkley, you say, hey, we can put up 21, 24 points. We dare another team to put that amount of points up against our defense.
Bills have had one of the worst run defenses in the league all year. And Saquon Barkley didn't have some monster game on Sunday. Like, I don't know. I think this is an offense that is not going to find an answer and look great. I think it's a team that has Super Bowl champions on it, knows how to win playoff games, and has an elite defense. So if they're standing there holding that trophy in Santa Clara in February, I don't think it'd be a shock, but I do think it would be a shock if they're standing there because they scored 30, 35 points a game on the way to doing it.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. Teams should fear Jalen Hurts. I go back to my childhood. It only took my mom whooping my butt one time for her when she grabbed that belt for me to have some fear. We know what Jalen Hurts is capable of. Now, you may not see it consistently week in and week out. You know what A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are capable of. So you know when he's able to hit those guys on the outside and make some of those plays. As a cornerback, when I'm lined up and I'm across from A.J. Brown, there is some fear of what he can do to me on any given play. So I think because of that, because of the potential and what he's capable and what history has shown us from the quarterback Jalen Hurts, there has to be a level of fear of what he can do any given game because of what that potential typically is.
So to your point, to that stat, Eagles 9-0 this season when Jalen Hurts throws under 200 yards.
Yeah.
And we obviously haven't seen him, as you said, utilize his legs more. So maybe there's some formula there that they just haven't unpacked yet that they will do in the
secret safe.
That's right.
Secret safe.
The plays that Sirianni's keeping under his desk, right? The playoff plays.
Yeah.
Notebook from Waterboy.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's what he did. All right, coming up here on First Take, the CFP quarterfinals begin.